Hi everybody and welcome to another video. In this video I would actually like to talk a little bit about regions, just because I noticed that many of us might be unfamiliar with the different regions that's available, the cities that are inside, as well as what are basically the resources that they have. So I felt that this would be a very good video to share based on a couple of times I played with different regions. Okay, so as you can see, if you actually played in a single player or multiplayer, there are multiple regions. Let me see, there's about 12 regions here and 14 regions you can choose from. Okay, so one of the most common one that you would see in multiplayer is basically those that have the maximum numbers of cities, like Titan Gorge, for example, Discovery Delta, Rambling Badlands, and Viridian Woods. Okay, so for this video I would definitely start first with Titan Gorge, and we'll go through the different cities and talk a bit more about the region. Alright, so each of the city, if you can see here, for example, let me just pull up one of these, right, would have some key info such as like resources, as well as some regional access to the particular city you're trying to build. So obviously each of this information here would determine what kind of industry and specializations that you can build. So for example, what I meant by specializations would be like smelting, petroleum, omega coal, and electronics, and they are basically determined by what kind of resources that are available. Alright, now obviously smelting, petroleum, omega coal, and electronics are determined by what resources is available. Okay, yes, you can actually try to basically use trade port to import in resources, but normally that would be really expensive, right? And I would normally recommend that to decide which specialization based on what is the resources available in the city plot itself. Okay, now other specializations like casino, amusement park, and education, like if you want to go for university, right? Okay, they are not dictated by not determined by any of the resources, so you can build those three, casino, amusement park, and education, even tourism, in any of the city plots. Okay, you don't really need to worry about what is in the city itself. Okay, the last bit I would say is that it's the water accessibility as well, and it's basically based on whether you have some shipping access. So that's really important to decide whether you have infinite water resource, or you need to actually find a way to sort of source for it, buy from other plots, or even make your own water source. That will probably come in another video in the future. Okay, so looking at basically each of the city plot, you should be able to see some of this information. So like rail access, shipping access, whether there's coal, ore, or oil deposits underneath the city. Okay, and how much water is there. Okay, and whether there's any wind access available. Okay, so let's start off from the left side and work towards to the right side, clockwise. Okay, so the first city here we have is Pioneers Plains. Okay, and you can see that immediately there's no shipping access. Okay, so although yes, there is a lot of water based on this information, but it can be dried out pretty quickly if you are doing any specialization. Okay, or you are basically drawing out a lot of water. Okay, so I would say that as much as this goes, right, it's not infinite amount of water, so you need to be careful when you plan to build up the city and grow the city. Okay, now with the resource in mind, right, you have only all that's accessible. So in this case, you're able to do the petroleum specialization, so you can actually make plastics, okay, and fuel barrels. Now you could go to omega coal if you import in ore, and usually, although ore can be a little bit expensive, but it's still cheaper sometimes than oil. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can also go omega coal, but with some caveats. Yeah. Okay, now moving on to frontier fields. So with these frontier fields, right, okay, you don't have any shipping access, as you see. That means that the water supply will not be infinite as well, so you need to be careful. Okay, now there's rail access as well, which is quite good. So like the previous city as well, with rail you can actually do the casino and amusement park much easier. Okay, you also have oil plentiful and a little bit of coal. Okay, so you can actually do either the smelting if you like. Okay, but it's a bit more difficult than going with the petroleum approach. Okay, now with electronics it might be a bit tricky as well, because you need to get some ore involved. Okay, so I would not say that the electronics and even Omega coal might not be highly recommended in this case. Although you can try, it might be a bit more tricky. Okay, moving on to the next city here, we have Conestoga Crossing. Okay, and basically right here you can see that everything is available, including the shipping route. So when shipping is access is available, means that the water access is basically infinite. Okay, so you just have to build basically all your water towers or the water pumping stations nearby the river, and you're basically pretty much okay with water supplying to the city. Now with these three in mind, with these three resources available, coal, ore, and also oil, you can do smelting specialization, petroleum specialization at the same time. You can also do Omega coal and electronics very easily. Okay, so we will discuss probably in another video on what kind of resources you need and what's the stages from this tree to become, or to basically have an electronics specialization. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, we have Settlers Rest. So again, all the three resources available. Shipping route means that the water is easily accessible, and so you can also build in this city. Okay, but the only plus here is that if you can see this particular yellow line here, means that you have 2 access points, and similarly to the previous city, right, if you have 2 access points, it's normally much easier to work with as well. Okay, but I did mention earlier. Yep. Now moving on, we have Hickory Ridge. So this one basically doesn't have any rail and shipping access, means your water is limited. Also, this plot of land has an issue of not enough land area to work with, but it can be done. I played before. Okay, now one of the cool part at least is that you have a lot of coal, a lot of ore. So basically, if you wanted to make a lot of money with this plot of land, you should be going for smelting immediately. Okay, that's probably the easiest. Okay, because the land area is quite limited as well. Okay, water is definitely very challenging, but it is doable. Okay, moving on, let's go towards this plot land here, Mesquite. Okay, so Mesquite here doesn't have any rail access. Okay, but it has actually shipping access. So if you wanted to do casino, actually this is still doable, but shipping is normally for high wealth tourists. So it means that you should focusing on the Slick or the Romola casinos. Okay, now it does have coal and does have petroleum oil, so you can go either the smelting or the petroleum route if you want. Okay, but moving towards Omega coal or electronics might be a bit more tricky. Okay, now if we go to Cedargates, you don't have any shipping access, means that your water resource, although initially it's available, plentiful, but might be restricted. Okay, so you need to plan about that, but at least you have 3 different resources, means that you can actually do all of the specialization like smelting, petroleum, Omega coal, and electronics. Okay, now next one here, it has a shipping access as well right at the corner, if you can see. Okay, it does have a rail access as well, so you can also continue to do if you have the casino and amusement park as well. Okay, and again, all these 3 are available, means that you can do the specializations that you require the resources, so smelting, petroleum, Omega coal, electronics as well. Okay, moving on, we're going towards Prospect. So Prospect doesn't have any water access. Okay, shipping access means that your water is quite limited, so this one might be a bit challenging initially, given the fact that coal and ore, which leads to smelting specialization, requires a lot of water, so you need to be careful about that. Okay, so there's no oil involved, unfortunately, so to do Omega coal and even electronics might be a bit more challenging. Okay, not possible. Yeah, so right here in the middle we have Nugget Plateau. Okay, So again, no water excess, and no excess of shipping means that water resources might be limited. Okay, coal and ore is plentiful, so this is definitely ideal for smelting industry. Okay, if we go towards Placer Vista, same story right here. Rail access for your casino and amusement park, much easier. Okay, there's also shipping, but there's no shipping access, so again it's quite limited as well. Okay, coal and ore is definitely available. Okay, so you can do smelting industry as well. Okay, and lastly we have Claim Overlook here. All right, we got no shipping access again. Okay, but there's a rail access. Alright, and you can see that coal and ore is available, so smelting is definitely available as well. Now, a little bit add on here, you can see that a couple of these plots are basically, these 3 plots here could do smelting, but the difference here is that the land area is a bit different. One is flat with road, and also one is a bit more higher up in the slopes, right? And the wing might be different. So although this tree might be durable, but when you dive deeper into the cities, it's going to be different again. So this is where a follow-up video will come to explain a bit more on how you would want to maximize the space and build up correctly, so that you don't have to keep bulldozing and then readjusting again. Okay, now let's look at the final 4 over here. So let's go from Wrangler's Rest. Again, very similar to the other plot, but there's an indent here, so that might be a bit tricky. We need to check. Okay, there's a rail access, which is fine. There's no shipping access, so means water is limited again. And again, with coal and ore available, you can do smelting specialization. Okay, with the Painted Point, similar story as well. Water limited. Okay, the ore and coal is also again limited as well, but you have rail access to it. Okay, now with Palomino is the same story as well. Coal and ore have able to do smelting industry. Okay, rail is accessible. Okay, so you want to go casino and amusement, you can do so as well. Okay, shipping is lacking, so it means that water resource is lacking as well, so you need to be careful about that. And lastly, with Mustang Run, it's mostly coal, so you need to import ore in, and you need to import all in if you want to do any of the specialization. Now, this city, you can still do smelting, but it's a bit more tricky. Okay, you can work only with coal, and you can basically just export coal is more than enough. Okay, just to get the city running. Yeah. Now there is no shipping access, means that water will be limited again, and there's rail access as well. Okay. So let me explain a little bit more about how the cities interconnect to each other. Okay, so when you're looking towards sharing resources, so for example, if this city wanted to get any power or water or sewage, okay, it is based on where the roads connections are. So for example, these frontier fields can get shared resources or buy or sell resources to those that are connecting, like Conestoga Crossing, Settler's Nest, and also Pioneer Plains. Okay, it's the same for these 4 here. Okay, Hickory Ridge with Mesquite, with Cedargates, and with Pinewood Hills. Same as well with the Prospect, okay, Nugget Plateau, Claim Overlook, and Placer Vista. And lastly, basically Wrangler's Nest, Painted Point, Palomino, and also Mustang Run. Okay, so when you playing either in a single player or multiplayer, and you wanted to sort of like access each other's resources, right? Okay, you're playing with a friend, or you're playing with like an acquaintance, right? Make sure you select in the vicinity of the area where it's connected by roads. Okay, I would say that roads have a higher precedence over rail. Although yes, rail does connect and able to transport people, but that is basically more passive compared to the other resources that requires road access. Okay, even monetary resources between different plots of cities. For example, I wanted to transfer from here to here, money transfer. I would definitely it would definitely be based on the road access as well, not rail access. Okay, and obviously lastly, Great Works location is based on the 4 plots, all the plots that are surrounding it as well. Okay, so there's one on the left, one on the top, one on the right, and one on the bottom. Okay, now the Great Works sort of benefits does share within the cities as well. Okay, so of the facility. So if we needed to build different Great Works to different locations, okay, it will only benefit those cities connecting to the Great Works as well. Okay, so something to take note of. So if you have like a spaceport here and you have ecology here, the ecology here only will benefit the these 4 cities but not the other plots as well. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so I hope you enjoy this video here. If you like it, do give a like. If you like to see my other videos I did where I reclaim back from my abandoned city, you can check out as well. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. Take care.